Well, hello, hello. This is Yolanda Johnson of Beyond Measure LLC. And this is Can You See Me, the podcast. Welcome to this segment, actually the first segment of the year. I took a little break, but we have some good stuff planned for you this year. And then also, I just wanted to say thank you to all of you who have continued to listen, even without having new recordings up. I've gone back and looked at the stats and the metrics, and you guys have continued to listen to so many of these. And so I want to thank you for that. But today I have a very special guest. I have Miss Kimmoly LaBoo. She is the CEO of LaBoo Publishing Enterprise, and she is a Christian divorce coach. Welcome, Kimmoly.
Hi,
Hi
thank you for
there.
having me.
Absolutely. Thank you. This is so awesome that we get to spend time together on Zoom video, record a podcast, chill at home,
Yes.
look good. For me, it's pretty much from the waist up. I don't know about you, but yeah, that's pretty much what it is. And so, Kimmoly, this podcast, when I first started doing this, it was really just about interviewing folks and getting content and information out to people. And then I tried to narrow it down a little bit more to making sure I bring issues to women who we can learn from one another. Basically, that's it. I want this podcast to be a space for women to promote themselves, but also to bring information to one another so that we can grow and learn. And then, in addition to women, I am looking to bring on some men who support the women. And how we can do that and how we can help to close that gap through a no-cost platform. And making sure that people can hear some good content that they can hear in their car, that they can watch on a video screen. And it could be encouragement, it could be educational, it could be inspirational. And so I thought about you as my first podcast of the year because of the writing, but also because of the divorce coach too. I think it's important for people to hear a little bit more about that. What does it look like? And so I want to stop here and give you an opportunity to talk about you, talk about why Christian divorce coach, and then talk about your book, The Threefold Cord, Broken, I believe. That's the title.
Yes. Well, it's an honor to be here. And I think it is so important to talk about this topic in particular and why Christian divorce coaching for me, part of my story is the multiple divorces that I have lived through, not by choice, but life just happens. And I wanted to I created the Christian Divorce Coaching Center, which is my business that coincides with me being a Christian divorce coach, because one, I'm a Christian. So people always ask, well, why? I remember when I first started, people were like, well, why is it Christian divorce coach? Why can't it be just divorce coach? Why do you have to put the Christian on this? One, because I am a Christian and I'm supporting women of faith who are walking through that issue, right? And so I wanted people to know that that's my foundation. And that's where I'm coaching from. That's the foundation that I'm coaching from. And so does it mean that I only coach Christian women? No. It's that they need to know that that is the space that I'm coaching from as I help them through that process. And so, being that I've been through it several times, I know the things that come up, and what it feels like to be in that position. And I know that when I was walking through it, I often felt like I didn't have anybody to talk to, because you don't necessarily want to bring your family members into it because they get all in their feelings. People make it.
Right. Everybody mad. Everybody's mad.
Everybody's mad. And then you may not even want to tell your friends about it because there's this negative stigma, that's associated with divorce, especially in the Christian community. So I wanted to be that safe place for women to fall and to be built back up.
Oh, I so love that. That safe place.
Yeah.
That's so important. As you know, I am freshly coming out of a
Yeah.
divorce, and it's good. And I
Yeah.
just want to say that it's good.
Hmm.
But marriage is good too.
Yeah.
And I know that uh, we both pretty much agree that we love marriage. That marriage is just a beautiful union,
Yes.
all of that. But when it's broken, ooh, it
Yeah.
doesn't matter, Kimberly. It doesn't matter why it's broken, how it
Hmm.
got broken. It's painful. It is
Very.
painful. And I never really got the concept until I went through it myself.
Yeah.
This past year, I mean, I went through a lot of like, I don't even know if I want to call it ups and downs, just pieces
Mhm.
of the process that I
Yeah.
can now speak to. I couldn't even maybe identify it at certain times, but I can now speak to every
Mhm.
piece of the process. And I love how you said that safe place.
Yeah.
Um, because one of the things I realize is that sometimes people just don't know what to say.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they
I
just don't know.
actually did a video on that one
Uh-huh.
time. It was, I think it was titled 10 Things That, no, it's What Not to Say to Someone Going Through Divorce.
Yes, well, I'm getting ready to ask you about that
Hmm.
because I found that, and I have a beautiful support system. I
Yeah.
am so fortunate to have that, and so I had some safe places. However, there are some spaces some things that I needed, and I had
Yeah.
to learn how to become those things for myself.
Yeah.
Really did, because
Yeah.
it's just difficult. And people don't know what to say. They don't want to hurt your feelings. They don't want
Right.
to say anything wrong. But what
Yeah.
help us understand, what can we do and what can we say when we
Mhm.
see that someone is breaking apart? But before we get there, Kimberly, I want you to talk a little bit about what that breaking apart could look like, though.
I mean, there are so many different things that lead to divorce.
Hmm.
Um, and so, for especially from a female perspective, I know that myself and many of the women that I've coached, it's when we walk away, 9 times out of 10, we left emotionally years, months, or whatever before we walked away physically.
Yeah.
So when we're done, we're kind of done.
Right, right. Yeah.
So,
And,
and
and,
so
and that done looks different for each person, right?
mine looks different
Yeah,
for, I
yeah.
mean, okay, so given that I said I've been divorced multiple times, like my first divorce was from the father of my children, right?
Mm-hmm,
So
mm-hmm,
that done looked different because that
mm-hmm.
done was a lot of back and forth because my kids were involved, and you want to make it work and you do
Right,
the back and forth because you struggle with whether or not you're really doing the right thing for your kids,
right,
basically, what it
right.
comes to. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but my done in my last marriage, my kids are grown. You know,
Yeah.
so my done looked a whole lot different. So when I was done, I
Yeah,
was really done,
yeah,
you
yeah.
know. But sometimes there's so many layers to that because you are really, well, I can speak for myself, there was a lot of undoing,
Mm,
because I was accustomed to a certain lifestyle
yeah.
and I had to walk away from all that. And when I was done, I was okay with walking away from all that, you know,
Oh, yeah.
and um, so it was starting all over again and being okay with that. But I was in
Mm-hmm.
a season that I was just seeking peace.
Oh, yeah.
So it didn't matter that I was giving up the house in the
Yes.
cushy neighborhood and, the dual income. It just didn't matter.
No.
So just that undoing looked a lot different because
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted my peace, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah,
And so, but for women who are in situations that may be hostile,
yeah.
abusive,
Mm-hmm.
and also for myself, when I was walking away from that last one, I had to take into account how I was going to leave because it wasn't
So
safe for me
important.
say,
Mm-hmm.
I'm leaving you. I couldn't do
Mm-hmm.
that because I knew that I
Right.
would be putting myself and my son in jeopardy.
Right.
At least that's how I felt. And
Mm-hmm.
so it was important for me to come up with a plan
Right.
to leave. And so that's one of the things that I help women with, how to safely walk away.
Right. This is, and if we could park right there for a second, that's
Mhm.
so good, Kimmoly, how to safely walk away.
Yeah.
Because even when there's not abuse or manipulation or whatever the case may be, you still need to have somewhat of a plan and a thought
Yeah.
process towards it. Because when it hits you,
Mhm.
I thought that I would, okay, well, let me figure it out. Let me have a plan. But there are some times where it just kind of hits you and you
Yes.
have to like just get it moving, right? You have no other
Mhm.
choice. Um, there was something that you said that made me think about one of the do not say things. And one of
Yeah.
those things, and if I have ever said this to a woman or a man or anybody, I hope that they can forgive me. But then when I have heard these things where it's been in reference to me or to someone else, I'm like, oh, how could we say that? Especially a woman to a woman.
Mhm.
I would have been left.
Yes.
OMG. She should
That
have
makes you
been
feel
left.
so stupid,
Oh,
right?
she should have been left. Or he should have done this. Or I
Right.
would have done. Oh, don't ever say what you
Yeah.
would have done in a situation until
You
you know
just
what that
don't
situation
know.
is. And you don't know. And I always say, only people in that marriage really know what was going on and you really experience it. But that is a no-no, do you think?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know if you're helping people. It's almost
Yeah.
as if because they're already feeling turmoil, right?
Yeah.
And so when
Yeah.
they hear that, I'm like, ooh, I know you love me,
Yeah.
I know you care about me, but that ain't cool. Because that's just not something that you say to people because it's almost as if like you're re-traumatizing the situation,
Mhm.
Yeah.
Or I always knew he was a loser. It's like, well, Lord have mercy. Why didn't you tell me sooner?
We probably wouldn't have listened anyway,
No.
Kimmoly. We wouldn't have listened. I tell you, we would not have
No.
listened. It is so funny, And one of the things that I had to really work through therapy, and so that was one of the things that was key
Mhm.
as well, is that getting someone who is totally objective,
Yeah.
to listen to you and all of that. But one of the things that I had to work through was that whole feeling of I should have,
Mhm.
like I should have. You should have done this. You never should have
Yeah.
done this. You never should have done that. But I now honor the decisions that I made,
Yeah.
and that's a process. Talk a little bit about that as you're coaching folks. What do you see with guilt and how people stay stuck in guilt when they're coming out of a divorce?
Yeah. A lot of it for me, especially being a Christian divorce coach, a lot of it I see on the guilt side is the relationship with God, and then how you're judged by the Christian community is a whole different ball game when you're walking through divorce as a Christian woman. Or even
Wow.
Christian man,
Hmm.
because to have somebody say, well, if you would just pray more, or did you guys pray about this, or I even had a pastor say to me, well, if you're saying that this can't be fixed, then you're calling God a liar.
Ooh.
Like, what? And
Oh,
I was so glad that at that time I had my own personal relationship with God,
yeah. So
because if I
important.
didn't and I was a new babe in Christ, that might have broke me.
Mm-hmm. Oh
Or
yeah.
it may have caused
Oh
me
yeah.
to stay in a situation that was
Hmm.
unhealthy even
Yeah.
longer.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, um, that's part of the guilt. You feel like, and you ask yourself that question, like, did I try hard enough?
Hmm.
Um, have I done enough?
Right.
And then when you walk away from this, like, did I make the right decision? So you start second guessing
Oh yeah.
yourself.
Oh yeah.
So a lot of guilt can come into play with that. So when
Hmm.
I'm coaching, I really tell women to make sure, like a lot of it's like when you walk away, you should know that you know that you know
Yeah,
that you're
yeah,
done.
that you know, that you know, that you know.
That
But
you know that you know
you were
that you're
right
done.
earlier. We knew that we knew before, right?
A long time before,
Oh man,
right?
it
And
takes that. I always say it takes your brain sometimes to catch up with your emotions, or your
yeah.
emotions to catch up with your brain,
Yeah.
right?
And not only that, I think we struggle with figuring out the how.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it's like I got to a point where I was like, God, I don't know. Like, I don't have time to slow this train down to like let
Mm-hmm.
him off, because my
Right.
life in all other ways and all other aspects was great,
Wow. Mm-hmm.
because I had compartmentalized my life to be able to function in that madness. So I
Ooh.
was like, God,
Mm-hmm.
show me how to do
Mm-hmm.
this. And
Wow.
so it's like, once I did that, once I surrendered that to him, he showed me, like, I didn't have to
Mhm.
see every step of the way forward. He had me,
Yes. Yes.
and so it was really
Mm-hmm.
just saying, okay, God, the situation as well as I
Mm-hmm.
know the situation.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he even knows it more than we know it, because he knows what's going on with the other person, things that we don't know. So,
Absolutely.
you know,
Absolutely.
so it's like I had to just say, okay, and trust him,
Mm-hmm.
walk
That's
away
so
and trust him.
huge. That is
Hmm.
so huge because it's hard for us to not have the need to know what's around the corner. And I actually had to literally continue to release myself from not from be to release myself from needing to know how
Hmm.
it was going to look down the road. Like, how was
Yeah.
I going to look? How is life going to be like without this? All of that. And so once you release yourself from that and get through that
Hmm.
process, then it's like this freedom opens up, because then you're completely dependent on God and you're not
Yeah.
depending on yourself. Yeah. That's big. Um, I want to talk a little bit about like your tribe and how important your tribe is. Um,
Hmm.
and also some of the things that you have helped folks when you coach them through as they're going through the process. What are some of those things that you've seen that they've done to help them grow through the process?
Honestly, I mean, a tribe going through divorce
Mhm.
can be like this small. Right? Because I know with me, so I have my very best friend who's been my best friend for over 20 some years. Like, I could
Mhm.
tell her anything and everything.
Right.
And then I had, another girlfriend that I knew I could trust. But what
Mhm.
was happening was my situation, like the details of my situation, when I would share it with other people that knew me,
Mhm.
I could see like their whole demeanor and their whole countenance change. Like I felt like I was burdening them. I had one of my girlfriends say, every time I saw your number pop up on my phone, I was scared to death that it was somebody calling to tell me that you were gone.
Oh my
Because
gosh.
she feared for my life in the situation that I was
Wow.
in.
Wow.
And so when I started to feel what I was doing with people, it caused me
Mhm.
to withdraw and not want to tell anybody about what I
Mhm.
was going through, because I
Right.
felt like I was making them carry my burden.
Wow. Wow.
And I didn't tell I didn't tell my mom
Mhm.
until I actually moved out of the house and
Wow.
moved back
About
to the
what was
country.
actually happening.
Right.
Oh,
And so
yeah.
I took her to
Mhm.
breakfast one morning. It's like, Mom, gotta tell you something.
Right.
I left. You left what?
You did.
But I didn't want her to be scared for me. I didn't want her to worry about me.
Yeah.
Sometimes it can be hard
Mhm.
finding a trusted tribe to
Yeah.
walk through that, which I think
Yeah.
is why it's important to have somebody who is that third party that's not attached to the situation, to help
Yeah.
you to see clearly and to
Mhm.
to walk through that. Now, it
Yeah.
is helpful, when you get in those moments when you want to vent and have that pity party, to have a good girlfriend or somebody that can do that
Yeah.
with you. but I'm like, don't let me stay there for more than 10 minutes.
Yeah, I can't. I just can't. Yeah, because it keeps you stuck, right? It
Yeah.
really does. It keeps you.
So if you have the right kind of people, to support you, that's one thing, but you just
Mm-hmm.
really have to be careful, like who you share that information with,
Right.
because it can potentially make the situation worse. That's
Yeah.
just my opinion.
Absolutely. Oh no, I think it's
Yeah.
absolutely correct. I know that there were several times that I didn't even know that I needed pieces of my
Mhm.
tribe, right? So
Yeah.
different pieces, but there were also some pieces who I know they absolutely love me, but they could
Yeah.
not give me what I needed to get to the next point because they were angry like I was angry.
Yeah, they're like, girl, let's go slash the tires.
You know?
You're
But
like,
you
no,
know,
no,
I
no.
had been in that mode for a little bit about a year ago or something, So
Right.
like so you can't like it's really important that sometimes because those people really do mean well and
Yeah.
you don't want to and you have to get them to try to understand, okay,
Yeah.
because you there, I can no longer be there because I'm trying to come out of this.
Right.
And so it's I'm thankful for discernment and to
Yeah.
know who those folks are to say like Kimmoly, like you come into court with
Yeah.
me, just sitting there,
Mhm.
just sitting there. I had other friends who went to court hearings that I could not attend and because that court process,
Ooh, it's a
when I
whole nother
tell you
animal.
that is a different animal, all of
Yeah.
that. And so, but to have those folks who will just like sit with you,
Mm-hmm.
or that's just say, I need to see your face, I need to
Yeah.
hear your voice, you know,
Mhm.
those that's really important because they anchor you the
Yes.
process and now I see it like they really do anchor you, those folks to say, okay, you good?
Hmm.
This
Yeah.
is what I'm gonna do. I'm not gonna call you all the time, this, that, and the other. But if I don't hear from you, this is
Yeah.
that and the other because it is a process that's very emotional. And
It
I
is.
can be very, very honest that there were times when I was like, oh, what is this? But I
Yeah.
wanted to leave. But this is what I wanted. Why do I
Hmm.
feel like this? And then
Yeah.
I had to say, okay, this is also someone that I had a union with, that
Hmm.
we were building a life together, that no
Yeah.
matter what he did wrong or I did wrong or whatever, it was a union. And
It's a
so,
covenant.
ooh, if you got married for the
You
right
know?
reasons,
Yeah.
divorce hurts. And I don't
Yes.
wish it on anybody at all. It is painful.
Very.
It is very, very painful. And because you still have um that person and those emotions for that person and the need and the desire for that person at that time until you work through those feelings, right?
Right.
Until you work
Absolutely.
and
Absolutely.
bit about that, Kimmoly. Like, how hard is it when you
Mhm.
it's done? This is unhealthy for
Yeah.
me. I'm done. This is not what I want in my life. But you still got those feelings. You still
Because
have,
you still
you know.
because you still genuinely care for that
Hmm.
person.
Yeah.
If you really did love that person. I know sometimes when you go through divorce it can be bitter and angry and stuff, but there is still that underlying piece where
Yeah.
it's like, I know for me anyway, it's like I still wish him well. i
Hmm.
still I want him to get the healing that he needs.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
not always nasty and bitter and angry. It's like you genuinely care for that person. And
Hmm.
so
Hmm.
it's this period where it's almost like the whole process of mourning death,
It
because
is.
it's a loss, right?
Yeah.
And so you go through all those stages of first you're angry, then you're sad, then you go through regret, or you questioning
Hmm.
yourself. Could I
Right.
have done this better or that better? And
Yeah.
so it really is a process that you have to allow yourself time to work through.
Whew, I tell
Give
you,
yourself the
it is.
space and give yourself
Mhm.
the permission to walk through that. And that's also another reason why you have to be careful with who you share it with, because you'll have some people in your life that will be like, well, you should be over it by now.
Yeah.
you know um well, why you should be right. Go find you another man, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and you're like, no,
Get on out
to
there.
heal. I know, right? It's like, I need to heal from
Yeah,
this.
yeah,
You know,
yeah,
it's really something that takes a process of healing to work
yeah,
through.
yeah,
And so that's why
yeah.
I also don't think that people should get out of one relationship and rush right into another one
Exactly. Yeah,
without taking the time to heal.
mhm. Marriage, I've always said that marriage puts a mirror up to you.
Hmm.
Divorce also puts a mirror up to
Yeah,
you.
that's
you
true.
know and and I can, we could sit all day and talk about what they did wrong. I could talk about what
Mhm.
my ex-husband did wrong, all of that. But the
Yeah.
hardest part is when you have a mirror like this to yourself
Yep.
and
Mhm.
working through those things. If you really do that hard work, it's painful, but it's
Exactly.
also so freeing as you continue to go through the process. Like,
It
I just
is.
when I tell you I have gained so much clarity about myself, and I still
Yeah.
am, in pieces and areas where I thought, I was all good and all of that. But through the marriage and through the divorce, I was like, ooh, that piece of you is not
Yeah.
good. You need to take care of
Right.
that, sis. Like, you need to take care of that. And
Mhm.
talk about if you can give folks like three things to do, and not to give all of your coaching things away, but if
That's
they
fine.
are going through a divorce, or even if they're helping someone go through a divorce, what are like maybe three to five things that folks can do as they're going through the process?
As they're going through the process, I would say one, extend yourself grace. You know, be kind to yourself, because like you said, as you're walking through that, there are going to be those moments where you're faced with yourself.
Yes,
um,
yes.
you realize what you did to contribute,
Mhm.
because each party contributes to the
Right.
demise somehow.
Absolutely,
um,
absolutely.
One of the other things I would suggest strongly is writing, of course.
Yes, and I am going to get to that more in a
Yes,
minute. So be
because
kind to yourself.
yeah, extend yourself grace.
Extend yourself grace. I
Hmm.
used to pat myself on the back
Yeah,
sometimes. I'd get in my
yeah,
car and I say, "You got up this morning. You put
right.
on a little lipstick. You're looking a little good. You got up. You
Yes,
might got to struggle through the day a little bit, but you got up and
that's
you faced the
okay.
world." Yeah. Do a little
Yeah,
writing.
yeah,
Okay.
writing, journaling, whatever it is you
Okay.
have to do, because I strongly believe that there is healing through writing.
Hmm.
So I would suggest that too. Um, and I think to celebrate the little wins as well, and kind of what you just said, it's like, I've made it through this, I've made it through this. But to another good point too is, don't feel like you have to rush through the process,
Yes. Yes.
because sometimes we're like, I just want to be done with this. I just want this to be over. But there are mistakes that can be made in rushing that
Yeah.
process.
Well, I also believe that, for me, like, I saw that, um, I have seen the residue on people.
Yeah.
And I said to myself, I have to do this tough work, because
Hmm.
I cannot be 5, 10 years down the road
Yeah.
still allowing things to hurt me in this way,
Hmm.
still maybe having anger,
Yeah.
whatever the case may be. Will there be remnants there? There may be, but God is a healer. And so I
Yes.
don't believe that we are always going to be smelling the residue of divorce. I don't
No,
believe that.
I
If
definitely don't
I
believe
want to
that.
take that into another relationship, or even into the relationship with myself. So
Right.
that's so key, to just
Hmm.
pump the brakes a little bit and be
Yeah.
okay with being where you are.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah, yeah. Doing life at your own speed. You
Yes.
know, I like that. That's kind of the season that I've been in, just kind of learning how to do things at my own speed. I think I've
Yeah.
always been pretty good about that, but I'm being more intentional about it now.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I went through a whole season of healing after that last one.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh man. And it was
Yes.
beautiful, though. It was
Yeah.
beautiful to have that time. I mean, and I was fortunate enough to do it
Mm-hmm.
in
Yeah.
Hawaii, but
Yeah.
to
Oh
have
yeah.
that whole season of healing and season of peace and
Mm-hmm.
quiet and just to heal.
Yeah.
To heal. And
Yeah.
so I really think that it's important for people to take that time and to allow yourself, like I said,
Mm-hmm.
extend yourself grace, but allow yourself that season of healing as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
Mhm.
you talked about writing, and
Mhm.
I wanna honor the fact that we are in the middle of a health pandemic, right?
Yes.
And where I am recently divorced and very at peace about it and all of that, I also have a very strong support system. I have a
That's
very
great.
strong foundation, right? I have
Mhm.
all of you, I have family, I have friends,
Yeah.
all of that kind of stuff. And I have, to me, my best asset, and that's my faith, right? That
Yes.
I have my spirituality.
Mhm.
There are people right now, and I thought about this like, oh, look at you, you're doing good, but don't forget about those people who
Yeah.
have just come out of a divorce or
Mhm.
who are single and dealing with it at this time. You
Mhm.
talked about writing and the things that people can do. What is it so that some things that people can do who may be alone right now and really feeling it right now?
Yeah, so everybody's alone journey is not the same, I guess.
Right, right,
And some people have they struggle, like
right.
especially if they're in the house by themselves. It's like some people don't like the person that they're in the house with. And they're the only person that they're in the house with, and it could be because
Mm,
of that season
yeah,
that
yeah.
they've just walked through. And
Hmm.
so I would say, that it is important to stay connected. Like, even though you're isolated because of what's going on in the world right now, don't isolate yourself to the point where you're not reaching out to that support system,
Hmm.
that you have, or to someone else that can help you. I think another thing to do, which I love doing, YouTube is a godsend to me. It's like I believe in YouTube University, finding the right things to
Hmm.
help along the journey,
Yeah.
to watch things that are positive, to listen to things that are uplifting. You have so many podcasts now. I mean, we have
Hmm.
so much stuff. Like
Yeah.
being isolated today is not like being isolated 20 years ago.
Right, exactly. I'm
We have
like,
all this
yes.
access, yeah, all
Hmm.
this access to technology and what have you.
Hmm.
But so, doing that kind of stuff. And then again, writing, because I think there is healing through writing. And I think, even if it's something, if it's not something that's going to be published,
Hmm.
for the, writing for the sake of getting that stuff, getting those emotions out of you
Yeah,
onto
yeah.
paper, just so that you're releasing that and not holding it
Hmm.
in, I think is part of a great part of the healing process. So that's something else that I would suggest as well. But just staying connected to the right people
Hmm. Yeah.
that uplift and help you to move
Hmm.
forward. And if need be, therapy.
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
let's not forsake therapy, because
absolutely.
sometimes you need that to get through. And
Yeah,
it's not a therapy is not a curse word.
not at
Some
all.
it's not the plague.
Not at all. I tell
And
you.
yeah,
Hmm.
so if that's something, that you need to explore it.
Hmm.
Give yourself permission to do that. And, if you're worried about what other people are going to think, don't tell them. Just
Don't tell
go,
them.
right?
Yes, yeah,
Have
yeah.
an opinion if they don't
Hmm.
know.
Yeah,
You
that's
don't have to
right.
post on Facebook, I went to therapy today. Just
No,
go.
no.
So,
Yeah, yeah.
so those are some of the things that I would suggest, because I do realize that it's different for everyone. Like me right now, the whole isolation thing, I can get so much done being
Uh-huh.
isolated.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm
I'm happy not
happy,
to be in the DMV traffic,
right?
you know?
But
Yes.
I like the person that I have become. And so
Mm-hmm.
I like spending time with me, and I
Mm-hmm.
think that that's very important, is getting yourself to a place of wholeness where being alone does not um, bother you,
Mm.
you know,
Wholeness. Wow.
wholeness. Yeah.
Wow. We know because we're spiritual beings, right?
Yeah.
that we're whole in God, but that human wholeness, like getting back to that whole thing of putting pieces together. Kimmoly, what does that look like? Because I know like it feels good, like just journeying through that, like I'm
Yeah.
gonna be whole in every type of way.
Yeah. I mean,
Mhm.
there's just nothing like it. I mean, like I said, going through the process to
Mhm.
get there, working through, what Ayala say, you got to do the work.
Yeah, do the work. Yeah.
You got to do the work. But
Ooh.
I'm telling you, it's like once you do,
Mhm.
it's just such a sweet spot in life.
Yeah.
When you do the
Mhm.
work to get yourself to a place of wholeness. So that's why I'm saying, like, do what it takes in order to get there, because it's such a gift to you
Right.
when
Right.
you take the time to
Mhm.
do it. So whether it's therapy, whether it's writing, whether it's, watching, doing positive affirmations, watching positive
Mhm.
things, do whatever it takes to get yourself to a place of wholeness.
Right.
Forgiveness is a huge one.
Ooh.
Forgiving
Wow.
yourself
Forgiving
and
yourself.
others is a
You know,
big, big piece of it.
Kimmoly, LaBoo, let me tell you
Yeah.
here, that thing right there,
Hmm.
it is so easy. I believe that God built me to forgive, right?
Yeah.
So that's the easy part for me
It's a lifestyle.
to forgive others.
Yeah.
Forgiving myself, that's the tough part.
Yeah.
That has been the tough part of this journey. When you say like doing the work and
Yeah.
all of that, that hard work that nobody sees,
Yeah.
those are that's the one of my areas of
Hmm.
that I had to get to the point of forgiving myself and saying, you
Yeah.
know what, honor your decisions.
Yep.
Don't feel bad about the decisions that you made.
Hmm.
Learn from them, yes, but forgive
Exactly.
yourself. And doing that hard work that nobody can see. Those are the sacrifices that nobody sees.
Yeah.
So, oh man, I tell you,
Absolutely. Yeah,
that's
it's a huge part, because I know, at one point it was a huge block in my life. Like, and I
mhm,
didn't even realize it,
mhm,
how stuck I was when I was operating in unforgiveness. And it
wow,
wasn't until, I stayed on the altar, stayed on my face.
yeah,
It's like
yeah,
God
yeah,
was saying, you gotta forgive me. It seemed like every Sunday the message was about forgiveness. I'm like, okay,
yeah,
can we like stop now? Like,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
God is like, when you
Oh
forgive,
man,
and
I am
so
so happy to see that there are people out there like you now who may not have existed around you at certain times when you needed it.
definitely,
That Christian
yeah.
divorce coach, that you
Mhm.
talk about. I didn't experience that, but I have heard stories,
Yeah.
about people being told, well, you need to stay in your marriage. You
Oh,
need to.
yeah.
One time I did have someone say, who wasn't a part of my church, but I did have someone say to me when I was complaining to her about my husband, and she
Mhm.
said to me, well, are you praying enough? And I was like, well,
Right.
how much am I supposed to pray now? Like, what? What? And it made me
Right.
stop. Are you praying? So that's another reason why I just started saying, Lord, just give me discernment on when
Who?
I need to like talk about things,
Right.
and all of that, because that venting is a whole nother issue. But for
Yeah.
those of
Who?
you, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm so happy that you are out there for people, you know.
Yeah, I have people say that all the time. It's like when they hear that that's what I do, it's like, well, where were you when I was going through that? I could have used something like that. Because
Uh,
it's hard. It's hard. And like I said, especially in the faith-based community, it is
mhm.
extremely difficult because I tell you, Christians can be some judgy folks.
you know, oh,
Their house can be a hot mess and a wreck, but they're telling you you need to stay put. I'm like,
it's down to have several seats, please. Have several seats, and let me
several
let me and
seats.
God work this out. We
Yes,
gonna work this out.
exactly,
Yes, yes, yes.
exactly. 'Cause
Um,
I mean,
but yeah,
it
uh,
can be a rocky road,
yeah.
and if you have people in your ear like that, I mean, they I guess they think they're doing some good, but they can really do a lot of harm especially if you're not someone who has, your own close and personal relationship with the Lord, to know that that's pretty much nonsense.
Right, absolutely. And even
Yeah.
in honoring marriage, we're talking about things that are totally unhealthy, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying, for people to stay in. So I'm so glad that you're out there. I want to kind of switch gears, but stay connected a bit to more to
Mhm.
your writing and your
Mhm.
writing projects. I know that you're also working on a project with men. Like
Mhm.
a anthology. Now that must be a little bit of a challenge. So talk about that a little bit.
It is a challenge, but I'm determined.
There's some
So
great
yeah,
stories out there. I know some
so
wonderful men
that
who can tell some great
yeah,
stories.
so I'm
Yeah.
like, God gave me the vision for this project, and it's called the Black Father Perspective.
Oh.
And I work with women so much. Like, I've done several anthologies, and I do have the one that you mentioned on divorce, but I have several other anthologies that I've
You do? Was I a featured author in your show?
yes, you
Yeah.
were. So look, I have it right here. So Yolanda was set apart and chosen.
Hey,
God
God
uses
chooses
ordinary women to
ordinary
do
women,
ordinary things.
ordinary things.
But then there was a threefold cord broken. What happens when
Uh,
Christian marriages fail?
wow.
Um, but so in doing anthologies, I talk to women, and women are always so willing to share their stories, right? We gonna tell it all.
Right.
But I wanted to provide that same kind of space for men to be able to share what was on their hearts. And so the Black Father Perspective is about giving Black men a voice as far as parenting goes, because I think
Oh,
that we always hear about parenting from the aspect of what a mother goes through, but we never talk about what a father feels or what a father goes through in raising
right.
his children. And it's,
Mhm.
every scenario that you could think of, if it's, that it's divorced parents, if
Right.
he's a single parent, if
Right.
he's a father that's raising a special needs child, if it's a father that doesn't have a relationship with his children because of the
Mhm.
divorce. So all those different perspectives, like, I want to know what men think about
Wow. And you
things,
said the Black father's perspective,
the
right?
Black father
Yes,
perspective,
yes.
because
Love
I
that.
think their voice is missing in our community right now. And I want
Absolutely.
to open up that space for them to be able to share, because one,
Mhm.
we as Black women need to know,
Mhm.
and we can't always hear it from the parent of our child,
Right, right.
because, the emotions are too high and all of that.
Mhm.
So I want to provide that space for men, for Black men, to be able to speak up and to give them that voice and that platform to
Right.
be able to share their views on parenting and the things that they've gone through as far as parenting.
Wow, that's so good. I can't wait to hear more about that.
Yeah,
Maybe I'll do a podcast with all of your authors on that
that
one.
would be awesome.
But I love that it's from the Black father's
Yeah,
perspective, because you're right, they don't get a voice enough.
right.
And a lot of times I think their voices have been stifled, one, by society, two,
Mhm.
by the fact that maybe they don't think that their voice even matters. And
Matters.
three, sometimes it's been stifled by women,
Yeah, absolutely.
right? It's been stifled. But I'm so glad that you're giving
Yeah.
men this platform, because even though there'll be a certain amount of men in this anthology, it will also open doors for other men
Yeah.
in
Open up that
their different
conversation.
circles. Yeah, to
Yeah,
talk about things. And so
absolutely.
I see so much with that book,
Yeah,
Kimmoly.
I
I
just
see
gotta
so much.
rein them in.
I can imagine how hard it is. Now, you might need some women to help get them stories
I
from those men.
know.
Yeah, and turn those stories in on time and all that other kind of
Yeah,
stuff. Yes,
yeah.
yes, yes,
Yeah, but
yes.
I mean, it's an awesome group. If I can just, and I will, I'm believing God,
Yeah.
that it's going to come together as it should, because they, just talking to them and hearing you know, some of
Mhm.
the things that they've already shared, it's like, wow, you know, this
My
really
God.
needs to happen. And so I'm gonna keep pressing. I'm
Ooh.
hoping to have it out by Father's Day.
I would hope that I had a talk show by then, because I would have every single one. They would have a good old time sitting with me.
Yes,
Yes, yes,
yes.
yes. We
So,
got to think. I want to take some time before we end to just stick with writing for a few minutes,
mhm.
and how writing can really help us right now. You mentioned some things earlier, but can you give people some practical things to do during this time with writing, and how it can be so helpful during this time of social distancing and some states being locked down and
Yeah.
things of that nature? What are some things that we can do, Kimmoly?
You know, so one I've already mentioned is the journaling. You know,
Okay.
if journaling can be, if especially if you're one of those people that we just mentioned who is having a hard time with being isolated,
Mm-hmm.
to journal daily what those
Mm-hmm.
feelings are, what those thoughts are.
Emily, can I interrupt you just to say, because as I hear that a lot, folks
Mhm.
like me know exactly what journaling is. But if somebody's listening to this and they don't know what it is, because some people are afraid to say, well, what does that really
What does
mean?
that mean?
Do I write
Yeah.
out my feelings? Do I,
Mhm.
do I, I have a great journal that my son gave me that actually gives me prompts.
Mhm.
If I want to just pick it up and start writing, it gives me prompts. So talk
Yeah.
about what journaling actually
Yeah,
is.
and also you can Google writing prompts as well and get them
Mm-hmm.
right online if you don't know where to start. But it
Mm-hmm.
can be anything. Like me, a lot of times I'm writing. When I write in my journal, I'm sharing my thoughts to God.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like,
Right. I
Lord,
like
this is
that.
what's happening today. You know,
Yeah.
this is how I'm feeling today. You can treat it as a gratitude journal, which would
Mm-hmm.
probably be a great thing to do during these times. Like, although all of this is going on, these are the
Mm-hmm.
things that I'm grateful for.
Yeah.
Um, you know, like I told my best friend yesterday, I jokingly, well, and truthfully said to her that I'm
Uh-huh.
glad that this didn't happen to me 7 years ago, because it would have been a horrific mess
Wow.
because I was still stuck in the house with someone who didn't honor and respect me, right?
Ooh,
It would have been a whole different
that part.
situation, right? And so I was telling her
Wow.
how grateful I am that if I have to be stuck in any season, that it's this one.
Wow.
Because honestly, this could be a really bad situation for a lot of people right now.
Ooh,
If they're stuck
yes.
in a situation where they're with someone who's abusive or what have you. So I
Mhm.
know I went
Yeah.
off the grid with that.
No, 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 no. That's good. I like that.
But so writing the things that you're thankful for, writing what you're grateful for each day can be helpful in getting through a time like this,
Mm-hmm.
because it takes the focus off of, I don't have this, I can't go here,
Mm-hmm.
all the things that can be wrong with this situation, and
Mm-hmm.
focusing on, but I did wake up this morning. I'm still
Right.
breathing,
Yes.
I still have mobility,
Mm-hmm.
I have food in my house, I have shelter, whatever it is that you're
Yeah.
grateful for. So that can be journaling as well. Um, so they're just, a myriad of things that you can write about.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have to be pretty. It doesn't have to be in any special form. It's yours, so
Right.
find, if you don't already have a journal, you can journal on your laptop or your computer or
Right.
whatever, just
Piece
to
of
make it,
paper.
mhm,
Yeah. Just
just to
out there.
get it out of your headspace and be
Mm-hmm.
able to write it down and clear your mind of some of that stuff is good.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
so I think,
Journaling. And for those of us who, you know, excuse me, maybe are already authors or becoming authors, or maybe want to utilize this time to work on our projects a little bit more, what are some of those steps we can take? Like, are there like structural things that we should be thinking about?
yeah. So if it's something that you really want to write about, or if you have several topics that you want to write about,
Uh-huh.
this is a good time to sit and write all those things out. If you're like, oh, I got 5 books in me that I know I want to write,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
list them all out, like make your list, and then, which one do I want to start on first? And it can be
Okay.
such an exciting time right now, because if you
Okay.
have time,
Right.
this
Right.
gives people, all those people who say to me, well, I don't have time to write. Now
Mm-hmm.
is a perfect time to write.
Yes.
um some people say, well, I don't know where to start. And my answer to that is just start. Like nothing happens until you actually write.
Yeah.
But you can do an outline. And an outline is simply, I tell people, because sometimes people want to put their whole life in a book, in one book.
Right, in one book.
Now, if you're 50, that's going to be a pretty large book. But
pages so much, like the things
yeah.
that you want to write. I know for me that as my life has changed a lot, the things that I want to write about are different.
Have changed.
It's different because, totally different.
Yeah. And so you don't have to try to fit everything in one book. You can take a certain period of time in your life that you want to write about. If you want to try to fit, your lifespan, if you're doing a memoir or something like that. So if you want to write from birth up to now, outline it. Right?
Okay.
You can do it by, years, or you can do it by events. Make sure I tell people, write down all the things that you want, you want to go in the book. So this happened, that happened. These are major things that happened in my life.
Okay.
And so that you want to make each one of those a chapter. So it helps to write each one of those out. And then you can go back in and fill in the blanks.
Wow, I like that. So journaling, making a list, making an outline, gathering information together, like from your different life events.
Yep.
Okay. And kind of putting all that stuff together right now.
Right. And then you can go back in and you can fill in the blanks. And I also tell people, like, don't get caught up on, especially if you're writing a novel or something, I have to do chapter 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you have chapter 5, write chapter 5. If you know what the opening looks like, write the opening. And then you can work to bring it all back together. And so people get caught up because they say, well, everything is just so scattered and I don't know, where to begin. And it's like, just start. And we can, a person like me can help you to bring it all together. So don't get hung up on, having everything in order and being the perfectionist when it comes to writing, because it 9 times out of 10 doesn't work. So just write. Just write.
So Kimmoly, there may be thousands of books published after this time now.
I pray so.
Yeah, because the brain space that's being freed up is pretty large. So I like that. So for those of you who are out there and basically dealing with the pandemic and dealing with the feelings or emotions of being socially isolated right now. Writing is one of those things that you can do. And so Kimmoly talked about journaling. You could journal on a piece of paper. You can just dissect your thoughts. I love the gratitude, like, what am I grateful for today? And that could just be writing any one thing, right? I like the making a list of the things that you want to write about, and not feeling like it has to all be in one book, or maybe not even a book. Maybe it's a book that you keep for yourself.
Exactly.
Right? So,
because you might have to work through some things. And one of the things too, when I talk about that whole piece that there's healing through writing, some people ask me, how do I write about the difficult stuff? Because I've worked with women who've been through some major, traumatic things in their life. And sometimes that just takes a conversation to have someone to help you to talk through that. But in some cases, back to that therapy piece, if there's something that you want to write about that was truly a traumatic situation for you, a traumatic time in your life, sometimes writing can bring back up a whole lot of emotions. I know there's one lady who used to always say it hurts first and it heals second.
Oh, yeah.
So I really think that, working through that and writing through that will offer up a healing that is incredible. So, but sometimes it may take you going to a therapist while you're writing.
Right.
Or at least talking to someone or a book coach or something like that to help you work through that.
I think one of the things that you did tell us when we were working on the anthology was thinking about the other person on the other end. And that really helped me to write about a difficult moment, because I really wrote it for people who may have gone through what I went through, the chapter that I did in your book. And so I thought about those people as I was doing it, like, what is it that this can do for them? Oh yeah, I
Yeah,
thought that was
yeah.
really helpful.
Because I mean, I feel like the events and the things in our lives that we've gone through are not for us.
No, not
They're
at
not for
all.
us. We've
Not at
lived through
all.
them. We've survived them. We've
Yeah,
walked through them
yeah.
in order to be able to help someone else through them. You know, if I
Mhm.
hadn't walked through those seasons of divorce that I went through, I wouldn't be able to, I don't feel that I would be able to effectively or as effectively be able to hold the next woman's hand that is walking through that situation.
Yeah.
Um, so our experiences enable us to be able to lift somebody else up because we've already
Yeah.
walked through that. So
Love it. I love it. Well,
our,
we're
I
getting
think
ready
our
to,
experiences are a gift.
oh, say that again. We're
Our
getting ready to wrap
experiences
it
are
up,
a
but
gift.
I want to ask you two more questions.
Okay.
One is, what do you do for fun? I found out that, I love silly things. Like, I love to do something that just makes me laugh. I crack up laughing. I'm just corny like that at the silliest thing, all of that. But I want to hear what you've been doing for fun, or what do you do for fun? And then I want you to wrap it up by talking about, like, what's next for Kimmoly. What's up with Kimmoly?
Okay, what do I do for fun? Oh my gosh. It's changed. I guess I'm trying to find my new normal here because
Okay.
I've been in Hawaii for the last 3 years. And so
Mm-hmm.
what
Yep.
I did for fun was, going to the beach and watching the
Right.
sunset, and hiking beautiful mountains.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And so I'm trying to find the fun in my new normal now that I'm back here. You know,
Back in in
back
Maryland,
in
in this
Maryland.
here. Oh
Um,
my gosh.
so that might just look like going to the movies. It feels so generic now since I've had such experiences.
Well, I
But
like that. Finding your
going to
new
the
normal.
movies, or
Um, I
hanging out
love
with
that.
my sons and things like that. So
Good,
yeah,
good.
pretty in basic stuff now.
Good. But this is a great time, like you said, finding your new normal.
Yeah,
I love discovering or rediscovering something that you love, even if
yeah,
it's something really small. It's those
yeah,
little things that really make me happy and,
yeah.
laugh and all
And
of that.
going out to dinner with friends is
Yeah.
one, but I can't do that too often because it
Hmm.
adds up.
It kills your pockets. When we talk
Not
about
only
that
your
wholeness,
pockets, but my hips.
well, those two, yeah. You'll be a fully whole physically woman, and then you
Yes.
won't be whole financially, I tell you. And
Right?
I believe, even before this, I believe in a good Zoom video coffee meeting or
Ah,
a
okay.
lunch meeting. Yeah, like, hey, I ain't seen you in a while. Let's meet up for lunch or breakfast.
Right.
Yes, that's nice.
That's a great idea. That's a
I'm gonna
great
have to have a
idea.
little coffee with you by Zoom.
And then what's next?
Yeah.
What's next for me? I am just working on my client projects.
Okay.
What's next is continuing to build LaBoo Publishing Enterprise. That brings me a lot of joy.
Yes.
Being able to work with individuals to get stories out that, especially working with people who thought they could never write a book.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Mm-hmm.
like the
Yeah.
greatest thing. So working on that, and continuing to build my brands,
Mhm.
and then just maybe thinking about some other events that I want to plan later on, after we come out of this and see what
Yeah.
we're going to be able to do.
Mhm.
But that's what's next primarily for me, is just continuing to build what for me is my legacy.
Yeah.
For me and my children is LaBoo Publishing Enterprise, and just getting more great authors published and doing some more anthologies to
Okay.
come this year. And so that's kind of it.
Yay. This has been
Yay.
so good. It's been
Yeah,
great talking to you.
you
You are an
too.
amazing, amazing woman.
Thank you.
I really do appreciate being able to call you woman, friend, sister, and I mean that. I just thank
Likewise.
you. I really do. I thank you. And I thank you for sharing with the audience today, pieces of you and sharing with me. I appreciate you, Kimmoly. I
And
really
I appreciate you too. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Absolutely. There you have it, y'all. Kimmoly LaBoo, CEO of LaBoo Publishing Enterprise. Please visit her website at laboopublishing.com.
Yep.
Yeah, and you will be able to find out about how to link up with Kimmoly, how to maybe get her to help you as a divorce coach, but maybe also to help you to write your book project. And so there's information right on her website for that. You'll also be able to see her past and present projects that she has going on now with different writing projects. And so I want you all to go over to her website, laboopublishing.com. You can also find Kimmoly on social media at Kimmoly LaBoo.
Yeah.
All right. And thank you all for listening to Can You See Me, the podcast. Everybody have a great day and stay well. Bye-bye.